IDPs across the state in the aftermath of the conflict. And irrespective of their communities and ethnic affiliations, these IDPs, they long to go back to the original homes or the village where they were living their life. And people are complaining about the inaction on the part of government of India to do the needful to ensure their return and resettlement to their earlier places of residence. But during our interaction with the officials of the Ministry of Home Affairs, it has been clearly stated that this kind of things will be taking some time, as the use of coercive measures to do that kind of action is detrimental to the communities involved here. So, as I said earlier, the focus has been on holding inter-community dialogue to bring understanding, and then making the way for bringing normalcy and peace to the state. So this is one crucial issue that we are dealing with right now in Manipur, the question of the IDPs. The third point is on the prevention of further armed attacks against civilians. As I mentioned about the successful de-escalation. After December 2024, there has not been major attempts or attacks launched from the hill areas by the Kukizo armed groups targeting the civilian populations in the foothills or in the peripheral villages where the Meitei communities are living. Armed attacks as of now is not happening here, and this is one positive note that we can take away. However, I want to emphasize the point that despite the de-escalation, there is terror tactics and deniability, acts of deniability and gray zone warfare kind of tactics being used. Especially, I would like to mention the cases of disappearances of people. In the latest cases being the disappearance of Laisam Baburam. Kamal Babu, Laisam Kamal Babu, from Lemapong army camp, and the disappearance of Luang Kem Mukesh. So these are recent reports of disappearance of Meitei, people, and there's no, reports about them so far. So we take these cases of disappearance as an exploitation by the Kuki armed groups, of the legal lacune, without the, without any reports of the whereabouts of these people, there is no legal, action to be taken, and there is the deniability factor playing here. So the culprits are, going scot-free, and there is no justice delivered so far. As per the reports, there are 33 cases of military civilians, missing since the start of this conflict. Now, the fourth point is on the conducting of a comprehensive demographic study. So people generally talk about the National Register of Citizenship, to detect and report illegal immigrants coming from across the border. Government office, the concerned authorities. And the fifth and the last point of the memorandum submitted to the Government of India is about ensuring unconditional and inclusive dialogue process. And so far, I would like to send out this message that after the first inter-community dialogue, yesterday we had another round of interaction with the Ministry of Home Affairs, led by Sri A.K. Mishra, advisor to the Ministry of Home Affairs, and Sri Rajesh Kamble, Director IB, Ministry of Home Affairs, Joint Director. So we had a very fruitful and constructive discussion on a range of issues. And it has been clearly stated from the side of the Ministry of Home Affairs that the issues of opening the national highways, the issues of the resettlement of the internally displaced persons, these are going to take some time, and these are not achievable within a short span of few months or few weeks. So that is understandable on our part. That has been well noted. And from our side, we have requested the government of India to do the needful to take care of the IDPs in terms of taking care of their livelihood issues, financial needs, medical needs, and also, and most importantly, the educational needs of the children who are taking shelter in these various religions across the states. So there was the message given to us from the government of India, and we look forward to have more rounds of talks. Especially we would welcome holding of the intercommunity dialogue in the presence of the Kuki-Zo communities, because as I have stated earlier, this kind of dialogue with the Kuki-Zo community will play a very important role in bringing normalcy and peace to the state. And we are handing over the responsibility to the government of India to ensure that the civil society organizations belonging ground and the high cost to be incurred by all the communities living in Manipur. So the violence in Manipur has been projected as an ethnic conflict between the Kuki-Zo communities and the Meitei communities. But in this situation, all the communities living in Manipur, including the Naga, including the Meitei Pangal, they are also suffering because of the tense situation. And yesterday, during our interaction with the concerned authorities of the Ministry of Home Affairs, we have requested, we have put across the point that if we are seriously looking forward to bring normalcy back to Manipur, there is the need to change the moral framing of the conflict that is happening in Manipur. Very note that in the initial phase of the crisis, since 3rd May 2023, 22nd of April 2023, the nature of the violence was the kind of a civil unrest, riots and arsons, and people from one particular community attacking the members of another particular community all across the state, especially and especially these cases of violence was wrongfully projected as a incredible brutality inflicted by the majority Meitei community against the Kuki-Zo people, especially in the very areas of Manipur. And this is very unfortunate, and it is baseless. However, we must note the fact that the first fire of violence was lit by the Kuki-Zo community people in Suarsampu district, and it went out of control. And I would like to highlight the fact that there was a failure on the part of the concerned authorities, both the government of India and the state government of Manipur, in dosing the fire of this unrest. It could have been contained within a short timely action, and that is a reading that we have met on the basis of the facts from the ground. Now, I'm talking about the moral framing and the need to look at the crisis in Manipur from a different moral frame right now. So from that point of considering this violence in Manipur as an incredible brutality inflicted by the majority Meitei to the Kuki-Zo people, now from 22nd of April 2023 onwards, there was a change in the nature of the violence, because the Kuki-Zo people started acquiring gold lines on the ground, and that is how the concept of the so-called buffer zones emerged. So they started drawing lines on the ground, claiming their possession of certain parts of the territory in the hill areas, and in the name of Zelengam or under any other name. So bunkers were set up armed volunteers were posted on, at various strategic locations across the state, and that took a kind of a conventional and a semi-conventional nature of violence conducted. So we have to take note of this fact that it was not just the military majority community killing or conducting violent activities and targeting this. And there was reports of use of drone bombing. Especially on the 1st September, there was a case of drones being used to bomb and target populations in the peripheral areas in the East district of Manipur, at Poktruk and Kadamban areas. These reports were, claimed as best by the former Director General of Assam Rifles, Lieutenant General retired P.C. Nair, and also by the Chief of the Indian Army, General Upendra Dwivedi. So later on, the case of drone bombing was confirmed after an investigation, a thorough investigation by the National Investigation Agency (NIA), and that is a fact established, right now. So that escalation, shows that they are fully armed to the teeth to do the needful, and there is the use of a conventional, semi-conventional kind of tactics to establish their control over certain parts of the state as their territory or ancestral domain. And this is a fact that we cannot negate. And not only the drone bombing, there was also use of rockets with a range of about 8 to 10 kilometers. And there was one such incident in which a 70-year-old elder person was killed in Moira, a famous town in Manipur, in southern Manipur, near the Lotak Lake. This person was killed when this rocket fell at the home of the former Chief Minister of Manipur, Moirang Kwede. So use of these sophisticated weapon systems marked the escalation of the violence, and that came from the Pukizo community. But here in mainstream media, the narratives has been that the Meitei communities has been the perpetrators. We are the perpetrators committing crimes against the Pukizo people, and this narrative is very unfortunate. And as I mentioned earlier about the disappearances of people as an exploitation of the legal lacuna and use of many terror tactics, and this gray zone type of warfare where there is a blurring of the line between the peace and conflict. So the situation right now in Manipur is that of a stalemate between these two sides, two parties, and there is the buffer zone, the so-called buffer zone, dividing the soil of Manipur into two parts. And this is very unfortunate. And there were, cases of targeting civilian infrastructure, such as the case of, bombing the Kwakta Bridge in Bishnupur district of Manipur. On the 21st of June 2023, there was another case of, bombing of the bridge on the National Highway 37 near Kangpoki. There was a case of bombing targeting the power transmission line at Port Lane village. There was a case of fuel contamination in the name of leakage, but there was not an accident. There was a deliberate, leakage of these arms from the, this power plant into the streams, Lemapong stream. And there were other cases of targeting the fuel convoys, LPG convoys, and not only the bombing of the bridges, not only the transmission of, the taking of the transmission lines. And this situation, which is marked by the blurring of the line between the normal state, the peaceful state, and the conflict situation, is what we are enjoying. So despite the de-escalation, the realities on the ground is very delicate. And when we are living under this situation, the unfortunate provocation that happened at Guwahati is bringing the state back to the news, and the state is burning now, and people are suffering. So I have tried to explain the need for sensing our moral frame. I have given you the rationale for reframing, and also there is the need for conceptual reframing. Why? Because when we are living in that delicate situation, we have got many irresponsible statements from some of our well-known seasoned politicians, including our Union Home Minister, Minister. The narratives have been shifting, like shifting sand dunes. Earlier, it was because of the Manipur High Court order regarding the inclusion of the militaries into the ST list that triggered the violence. Next, it was about the presence of external forces and the illegal armed groups from across the Indo-Myanmar border that has led to the violence. And in the recent past, respected ministers, Sri Amisaji, Jyotiraditya Scindia, including Rajeju from Northeast India, they have started saying that this is part of their tradition. This is the tradition of the people of Manipur, the communities living in Manipur. It is the way of life. So they are making such statements which are sending the message of normalizing the violence. And we read this as a kind of getting away from the responsibility. Rather than taking accountability of the conflict and the sufferings of the people, the sufferings of the IDPs, and the financial problems that we are facing, as we cannot use the road transport to go to other parts of the country, these narratives are not doing anything good in the state. So I have this humble request to the government of India and to our political leaders that such insensitive statements should be avoided at all costs to avoid provocation and playing with the minds and hearts of the people of Manipur. Now coming to the operational reframing. On the eve of Christmas in December 2024, there was an incident in which nearly 100 well-armed Kukizo militants came down to Imphal East, a Sanasari area. And they started attacking the peripheral villages. And in response, a combined team led by the Border Security Force, Indian Army, CRPF and Manipur State Police conducted operations, and they were contained successful. So the reading that we have made from that incident is that India, being one of the most powerful military power in the world, with so many armed forces and agencies working for the security of the country, has the capacity to do the needful on the ground. But
in our Manipuri violence and
yeah. So the thing is that the government of India is playing with the intent of those armed Kukizo people, armed volunteers, armed terrorists, but not working on degrading the capacity to inflict casualties and losses of lives and properties to the people living in the valleys. Why this game plan of playing only with the